Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of Hidden Gems with me, your host, Natasha Parker, where we try to help some people get unstuck in life and move through it a little lighter, a little happier, a little sweeter. Today, we're going to move through life a little prettier, a little beautified, because we have one of my favorite makeup artists here with us today. She is... What she does with a brush is she's an artiste. She's a makeup artist, truly. And I'm so excited to have her. She has glammed my face many times. So everyone welcome Camara.
Hi, that was such an honor. Because I know you know some good people.
I do. I know some good people, but you are better. Yes, you are.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the overview of this episode is the beauty industry, how good it feels to serve God, to serve looks, and to serve your purpose. So I have everyone introduce themselves because I want to know how you introduce yourself to people. So introduce yourself to our Hidden Gems audience.
Hi, Hidden Gems. How y'all sexy people doing today? I am a woman of God. I'm a child of God. I am Camara Aunique, a founder of a beauty line. I am a mentor. I am a coach. I am a celebrity makeup artist. I am a person that loves character and is always building on my character and trying to be my best self.
Yes.
I'm a good friend. I think I am. Am I?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm a good friend.
She answers the phone.
I do. And I pick up and I call.
Yeah, she does.
And yeah, that is basically a bit of much of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on being a better daughter. I'm working on being a better family member to my family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a godmother now.
Mm-hmm.
So many things that I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
I am a future wife.
Yeah.
I am a future mother. I am a future millionaire.
Hey.
You know, like there's just so many things that I could. Oh, I feel God.
Yeah.
As I say that. Yeah, I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
As I say that. So I'm just speaking life to the future, but also speaking life to who I am now. Yes.
Yes. And where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as someone who prides themselves on being present and connecting with people, like seeing them, looking them in the eyes and things like that. When you do have those moments of alone time and reflection, and you're like looking back on things and you're like, oh yeah, we got here. We didn't know we was going to get here, but we got here. And having that vision to the future and what that looks like, and getting clear on that and talking to God about that, and just that knowing that, and speaking those things into existence, because we speak all the time in ourselves and our brains and our these, but speaking it into existence. So that's beautiful that you said that.
Yeah, I'm learning self-compassion.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm learning to be compassionate with myself. I think we can share so many, the world is just heavy. And so we're even sharing with ourselves that we're not pretty enough, we're not this enough, we're not that enough, we're not this, we should have been here, we should have been this place, we should have been doing this, instead of just actually just embracing where you are and being content with that. I think that's where I had to finally, like, I am finally at that place where I'm in contentment, but I'm also excited about what's coming in the future.
What's coming.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is the thing. The first part is recognizing that I'm here, but I know that I can get here.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm here at this present moment, but I know that I can get to these other layers that I want to, you know, either uncover or, you know, rise to. Oh, I feel that so hard. So why makeup? Why did we get into makeup?
Oof. So it's been about over 14 years.
Wow.
Over 14 years. And when I did...
You're about 7 years old?
I was about 7 years old. Yes. I was about 7 years old. I will be honest that when I started, it was honestly because someone told me I was not good at it.
Oh, like your own.
Like I wasn't good at like my own and doing other people, because I was like, you know, touching and doing other things. And I was working at the Macy store in Herald Square.
Okay.
And I was working there, and I would ask the MAC girls to teach me, and no one wanted to teach me. They were actually very mean to me. And so actually me becoming the artist that I was actually like to prove a point that I was like, oh, you want to be mean to me? I'm going to become one of the best.
Right.
But then I found God. and found that it was purpose.
And that adversity is almost placed in your life
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
And wait, I gotta just
unpack it.
What's so crazy about that is it's like you said, you found God, and what's so wild about that is the truth is because God knows us so well, better than we know ourselves. I am going to put this adversity into your face because I know that this is going to be the thing to propel you, to push you to this or that. So, while we're in it, we're like, why are these girls being mean to me? But it's like, this is where we're going.
Yeah. And it helps you, like, when you look back at the things that really hindered, like tried to hinder you or tried to push you to go in another direction or try to make you not like the very thing that you felt like you were called to. When you look back at those things, it's like, what are the lessons that I learned? You learn self-compassion. You learn compassion for those people that weren't kind to you.
Yep.
But you also learn to just see things in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think one of my prayers has always been like, God, help me to see it from your perspective so that I'm not looking at it from my own flesh.
Right.
But I'm looking at it from my spirit. And I'm looking at it through your eyes. So I can see that if this person is not being kind to me, there's something that they need. There's love that's missing. There's something, a hug maybe, or maybe just a recognition of how great they are. Or if I take it away from myself and say, you know what, you actually look really good today.
Right.
Look at how beautiful you look.
Yeah.
That helps them to bring the defense down and actually feel like they're being seen by God for a second through me.
Compliments.
Yeah, just making someone feel good and feel seen. And so I learned all of that through the heartache, through the pain, through the people bullying me, through all of those things, through having to encourage myself every single day to get up and start and try makeup.
Yeah.
And also when I started makeup too, 14 years ago, I was working at, first I started working at, I was at Macy's Herald Square. Left there, went to North Carolina, thought a boy was my husband. He wasn't. Came back and started to work at the Lord & Taylor store. I worked at Lord & Taylor's and I was at Estee Lauder. And I was at Estee Lauder. I was making a good amount of money, making like over $80,000 a year in pay, like how I would get paid, and plus commission. So I was making pretty good money about 14 years ago. That was great money at that time.
But were you a makeup artist at that point there?
I was like at the counter of Estee Lauder, working at the counter.
Okay.
And I was content with being in retail. Like I was like, I'm going to do retail.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
But I remember when I think back at those times, I had people like Bobbi Brown from Bobbi Brown Cosmetics. And she stopped me one day and was like, you remind me of myself. And I was like, really? And I'm thinking, and she's like, you should come work for me.
Wow.
Thinking that was an opportunity that was going to open for me to go and work for her, you know, and be an assistant for her. It never happened, but she still remembers me to this day.
Wow.
I had June Ambrose at that time. She used to come into Lord & Taylor's all the time. And I remember I went up to her and I said, one day I'm going to be your makeup artist. And she was like, I only work with the best. And I said, watch, I'm going to become one of the best. Not realizing that 5 years later, I will become June Ambrose's makeup artist.
Yes. And honey, her face is always
she always looks
serving.
good. Yeah. We don't work together anymore, but.
Well, she has.
Yeah, she's still, obviously, she's stunning. But that was like a catapult of my career that opened a lot of doors for me as when I started working with her. And so I think, you know, it's choosing makeup was something that chose me.
Right.
I really love serving and making people look and feel good. I like to help women to see their beauty through the eyes of God, which is why when I do makeup, it is, you look like yourself. I'm not taking away from your beauty. We're just enhancing a little bit of something, you know?
Yep.
And it took a while for me to learn that. It took a while for me to actually feel comfortable and feel safe to trust the gift that God placed in me. It took a while for that to come. And I kind of wish sometimes when I look back that I could say, man, I wish I actually just enjoyed the process of growing as an artist and building and growing and connecting with new clients and, you know, and experiencing what it felt like to become a celebrity makeup artist, which happened very quickly in my career.
Right.
And so I hope that anyone that is listening to this, that is in that process of growing and wanting to get to a place that they would actually just enjoy where they are now and just open up their eyes to see the different things. Because even those little times that I had those conversations with like Bobby Brown and June. And then I remember I worked at MAC, left the Estee Lauder location, got hired at Mac and Henry Bendel's. Went from making the $80,000 to $20,000 a year.
Oh wow!
Really sacrificed, just because I wanted to learn how to be. I think we have to continue to always learn as where we are. I wanted to learn how to be a better artist. I built a crazy clientele at Estee Lauder, but now I'm like, I'm not like the skincare and all that stuff is good. Now I know about skin, but now let me learn about like how to really do a face, like how to do beauty. And
at the time, was MAC like one of the best?
MAC was that spot. That's why the girls were in that kind, because it was that place when, the MAC girls at that time were very, very like,
it's me.
I'm a MAC girl. You can't talk to me.
Yeah. Bow down.
Yeah. And I always made a promise to myself that when I got that job, that I was only going to be there for about 2 years. I didn't stay at MAC long. Yeah. Because one of the things I learned about the people that did work there is that they got comfortable and they stayed.
Okay.
I knew that there was something more for me. Yep. And I wanted the more. And so I closed down that Bendel store, went to Times Square. That's when Mickey Taylor walked in one day and was like, I need my makeup done. And everybody was like, me. And she was like, no. And she looked at me and she says, I want you to do my makeup. And I was like, me? And she was like, yeah, one day you're going to be a very big artist. And I want to be able to say that you touched my face.
Wow.
And so it's little.
That is so beautiful.
Thank you. It's little God winks. We call them God winks, right? Like, it's little winks of God that's just reminding you of where you're going. And I wish that I was actually present enough to receive what was being said to me to prepare me for what I was walking into. Because we battle our minds a lot. Right. We like, oh, she said that. Oh, whatever. Yeah. Yeah. But as I grew, as I matured, I was able to actually say, whoa. That was actually God speaking through her to me to say, one day, watch what I'm about to do to you. Right. Watch what I'm about to say.
So you have all these little nuggets that you can look back on where you're just like, oh, it was just carrying me to this next step.
Carrying me, yeah.
So in what you were saying about, enjoying it's not the destination, it's the journey. Yeah. And so do you feel like now when you get these nuggets, because these nuggets are going to happen for the rest of our lives.
Yes, they've been happening.
You're like, are you still can you recognize it now in the moment or no? Because I still feel like I'm still like hindsight. Like in the moment, I'm like, ah. Yeah. But obviously, we prayed for this moment. We prayed to be here. It might not be shiny and beautiful right now, but there will be some sort of payoff because that's just the relationship, right? But do you notice it now or no?
So I've gotten to the place actually that I am able to, because what I say to myself every morning is every day is going to be a good day. Yes. In this month, right? In the month that we're in. And even if it's a day that may be hard, Father, I thank you for helping me to see the good in the hard times. And so I think that when I switch my perspective to actually seeing that this may hurt right now, this may feel a little bit of a challenge, but what am I learning in this challenge? Yes. What is this preparing me for? Yes. And now, because of the maturity and because when you've been through some things, because I've been through a lot of wildernesses, when you go through those wildernesses, as you go through them more, they become a little bit more easier because you have the tools. Right. And so I just take every tool with me into the next season. Okay. So you do Miss Taylor's face. Mickey, yes. Miss Mickey. Yes, yeah.
And then what happens?
So I sat her down and, like how I normally do, how do you want to feel today?
And you started that back then?
I always been doing that.
When did you start that? Because we got to talk about that. So she has a process when she sits down and you say,
how do you want to feel today?
Right.
What do you want to look like?
When did that start?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't take credit for that. I think it's just because I have a heart for people. Yeah. And I know that I work with people that are going in front of a camera. Right. And because they're going in front of a camera, I want the last thing for them to think of is their makeup. I want you to be able to have your notes and be able to deliver your speech. I don't make it about me. I think a lot of artists, from what I've seen, have made their career and the beauty industry about themselves when it's actually about the person that's sitting in your chair. Every person that sits in my chair is an assignment. They are someone that I look at as like, wow, God, you really trust me with this person, because the way that God loves me is the same way he loves you. And so because he's trusting me to spend time in your presence. It's an intimate thing.
Right.
And so I want to make you feel like we're partnering together. I want to make you feel like we are actually, that I'm not coming in saying, I'm the expert. I know what I'm doing. Sit down. Let me put my brushes on you and you're going to trust what I do. No, how do you want to feel?
Right.
I want to feel sexy. I want to feel beautiful today. I actually want to glow today.
Right.
Okay. I was actually seeing that. It's like, when because I do pray before I go into a client. But I was actually seeing that. Okay, great. How do you feel about this? And then that's when the client kind of puts their guard down. And it's because I'm intentional about you. When I'm with you, I'm with you. Yeah. The same way that I treat Angela Bassett is the same way I treat you. Yeah. The same way. And I don't like treat somebody on a scale of like, okay, well, she's up here. No, y'all are all up here. Yeah. Y'all are all like doing amazing and wonderful and great things. And even I am. But I don't come in with ego. I let the ego go and actually partner.
Right. So, okay. So you asked her how does she want to feel, and she
was like, "Oh my gosh, nobody has ever asked me that before." Right. And she remembered that actually. So even now, when we connect now, she's like, "I remember when we first met. I've never had anyone say that to me." And so that was we did her makeup, and then she went off to her event, and we never connected. We never connected after that. We took a selfie. Yeah. I thought it would have been something that would have built, and then my career shot up. Yeah. And then I had this amazing opportunity to do, because I did a art gallery of my work, and this company, I won't say who, but they invited me to come and share the art gallery at one of their dinners, and it was an amazing experience, and that's how Mickey and I reconnected.
She was there.
And she was there.
Wow. Yeah. Beautiful.
So yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. So we're still at MAC at this point.
I'm still at MAC. Yes, I was still there.
Okay. So then what gets us from MAC to the next step?
So I was intentional when I worked at MAC. I was there for 2 years, and I really literally was like, I'm not going to be here for long. I want to go to Fashion Week, and I want to do Mercedes. It was at that time, it was Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, telling my age. But I was like, I want to do Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, and I want to work. So I started to freelance with MAC for Fashion Week, doing Kate Spade. I did like Reed Krakoff and different amazing, wonderful Calvin Klein shows, and like just touching and doing that. And then I was very intentional about the locations that I worked at. So working at Henry Bendel, I knew that there was a certain kind of client that would come in there. Right. Then going to Times Square, I knew that there was a certain clientele that was going in there. And I started to build clientele. And then I left Times Square and opened the Fifth Avenue location, which was intentional because I knew that there was a certain clientele on Fifth Avenue that I wanted. And so every client that I connected with, I built relationship with. I learned that from Estee Lauder, how to pull people in and how to build clientele. Right. I was also a jewelry designer at that time too, and doing all types of things. So I would go to my hair salons that I was at, and I would, and this was the hustle in me. This is the Brooklyn girl, the Brooklyn hustle girl in me. But I would take my products with me when we would have like where we had to reach goals, and I would take those things with me to the different hair salons that I worked at, and I would set up shop and do little makeup applications on people to make sales and to make money. Wow. So I always had that like building community in me before, and this is before Instagram. This is a building community, but also a intentionality of like making the money on top of it that I had to make for my goals.
Yes. And I think that there's a gem there in the sense of when you find out that you want to do something, like, okay, I'm going to do makeup. having these goals, studying people, studying locations, studying clientele, studying these different things, it's like that's also a way to, when you put these little goals for yourself, like I know I'm only going to be at Mac for 2 years, that's a way to not get stuck.
Yes.
Like you said, people get comfortable, people just want to stay, people want to whatever. And when you put these little mini goals in your along your path, I think that's a way to, this is about, the podcast is about getting unstuck, but that's a way to not get stuck, because you're kind of going after something, and you have like a destination. So that's beautiful. And okay, so now you're at Fifth Avenue.
And now I'm at Fifth, and I literally, somebody came to me and said, "You look like Pat McGrath," because I used to wear these like button-up white shirts with what's that called, with a tie, a men's tie and vest and blazer. That's how I used to dress, and that's how Pat used to dress also. But I didn't really even know that. But it was something in me that when I was building the clientele, I had a lot of people from Bad Boy, a lot of executives, and I was just saying, like, I'm leaving. So 2 years to the date that I got hired, I quit Mac.
Wow.
And I stepped out on faith.
The Fifth Avenue.
To be full time as a freelancer, and that was over probably like 12 years now. Now,
what was your relationship with God at that point?
I didn't know God like how I know God now. I thought I did. So I thought I did. I don't know. I didn't know God as the way I do now.
But you still were a believer.
I believed in God.
Yes.
But I wasn't claiming, like, I wasn't like Jesus. Is a difference.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a difference.
Is it?
I think so. Because we could say God, 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 but how we said his name, Jesus. Like, I think when we say the name Jesus, then we're actually like, oh, because there's many things that people call God.
Right. And I know that for me, myself, I say God a lot more than I say Jesus.
Same too.
But because, God is all, and believing in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, it's like, if, that collection of all of them. So, yes. So you're saying that then it was like you had a belief of this higher power, of this God, that like, okay, yeah, we're connected, but like not how you are now, where you're chained. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I did. I always knew in my spirit though, I wanted to please God.
Okay.
So even when I, like, anything that I did, I will always be like, is God okay with this? Like, I always was kind of, we were always connected, but now we're in an actual relationship with each other. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we step out on faith. That's why I asked, because you said I stepped out on faith.
I did.
I stepped out on faith.
I felt it. I woke up one morning and there was this app, a music app called Songza at that time. And it was a dope app. And they had this like neo soul daughters, like daughters of neo soul kind of like thing. And I would wear it, listen to it every day, because I love neo soul. And that Guapole song, Closer to My Dreams, came on. I mean, that song came on and I was like, that's a sign, I'm quitting today. And that's what made me quit.
Wow.
No lie.
The power of music. Honey, the power of music. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah, that's great. Wow. Okay, so we quit. Now we're freelancing. We're working for ourselves.
Working for myself.
Yep. Where do we start? Where do we get started?
We got 14 years to talk about this.
Well, no.
Let's speed it up a bit.
Yeah. So in the beginning, did you find that it was easy, intermediate, hard? Like, what was happening?
I'll be honest. No, it wasn't. It was, but it wasn't, because there wasn't anyone actually teaching. How do you get into an agency? How do you build a client? How do you get your first celebrity client? And so I had friends.
Yeah.
I was good friends with Ursula Stephen. And the Brooklyn girls, we all came up together. And like knew each other from different walks of life in Brooklyn. And so it, like, even now when I connect with people, they're like, oh, you that OG Brooklyn makeup artist girl, like the OG girl. Because I came up with like the heavy hitters, like even though Ursula came up way before me, like she was killing it way before. She's a whole icon. But yeah, so I would just ask for help. I never had an issue with asking for help.
Okay.
With saying to someone that I knew that could open a door for me. Even when I started with freelancing and having clients, I actually called every woman in my book, in my contact list, and said, I'm going to step out and do makeup for a full time. So whenever it is that you do need makeup, please consider me.
Yes.
And they did.
Oh.
And not realizing that they actually knew people. And like even my client, Camilla Forbes, who is the icon at the Apollo, she's the executive director, executive producer at Apollo Theater. Camilla, I've known her for since the beginning of my career, I've known her. Mm-hmm. Camilla brought me into places where I did her wedding, not realizing Chadwick Boseman would be there.
Wow.
Not realizing that Susan Kelechi Watson from This Is Us is one of her good friends, and introduces me to all these people that were celebrities. And that's how I started to build clientele, because it's actually the executives and the women, the everyday women who have friends that are celebrities that are saying, hey, you got to use my girl. She's amazing. Right. And they advocate for you. So that's why I say you have to treat everyone the same, because you don't know who people know.
Yep. And now in the era of Instagram and stuff like that, it's like people are so always gunning for this person has this many followers, this person has this many followers. You know, that's also when you're building a business. And I did brand marketing for a little bit with a friend, and we would do these really great dinner parties to drive business to his restaurant. And I was like, yeah, no, we're not just we're having New Yorkers, because the restaurant's in New York. I don't care if you got 200 followers. I don't care if you have 2,000, 2 million. It doesn't matter. If you live here, those are the people that are going to come to your restaurant. Yeah. If if someone with 200 followers posts this is the best restaurant, that's 200 people that are real people that follow this person, right? So I think that's definitely a gem. And I have said that before on this podcast. Your network is your net worth. It truly, it's the best. It truly is. And people really do have to look at who's around them, who that they can touch and be like, hey, we about to do this thing. Yeah. You got me. You help. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's beautiful. Okay. So we do that. And all of these directors, which is also beautiful and amazing, because it's at this point though, you as an artist, how did you feel about your craft? Like, did you feel like, oh, I was really good, I was kind of good? What did you think?
So I had clients, I won't say who, but I had clients that would say to me like, this person's better than you. This is so it was a struggle. I think it was a struggle because I think one of the things, especially in working in Black Hollywood, not everybody, because I got some really, like the people I got now, clutch. Right. Like my clientele that I have now, I love them. But the ones that I had when I started, back then, a few of them would do what they can to kind of break my spirit, and sometimes it worked, because I was always comparing myself to somebody else and to the other artists, and that's what I think that happens in the Black beauty industry, that there's less community because everyone is competing against each other, and it's like, but you carry something that's completely different from what I carry. And I remember when my friend AJ Crimson, rest in peace, he said to me, I spoke at his one of his events that he did, and he said to me, he said, Camara, and when I think back, I'm like, why did he say this to me? But he was like, you know why nobody don't like you?
Oh, boy.
And he was like, because you do what they're afraid to do. But I always just wanted the best for myself. Like even coming up from the hood in Brooklyn, like I knew that this wasn't the end of my story. I knew that I wasn't looking down upon coming from the hood, but I looked at like, I'm going to use what I learned from this to actually take me to where I need to go. And it made a lot of people not like me, because they was like, she thinks she's so good, because a lot of people go and get their dead end jobs. You working for the city or whatever. And it's not even a dead end job. That's actually a great job, because benefits, hello.
Great benefits.
All those things. So it's like, but I think that when you see someone around celebrities and see someone that is, you have the blue check and they got all this stuff going, and it seems like the perception of them is kind of like they're, it's ego just driving them, and it's not purpose. And I think that I have met, like you, of course, some people that it's not ego driven, but it's actually purpose driven. And so how do we rewire the minds of those everyday people to see us as we're just here for purpose, and just as you're being used in the area that you're in doesn't make what I'm doing better than you. We're still combating some things here together.
Yeah, I do think that it's projection too, you know, because for me, I feel like a lot of it is noise.
Yes.
Right? It's noise, it's chatter. It's like, you know, we live in New York. It's a really loud city, you know, it's like, so I really try to drown out the noise because I can't convince anyone of anything.
Yes, right.
I can only just do what I'm doing on my narrow path, as I keep calling it, my narrow path. I'm on my narrow path. Yeah. And some people don't, they don't understand that. And I've had to get okay with that.
Yeah.
I used to really be like, well, but me, you know, and also like you said, being from the hood, I'm from the South Side of Chicago, you know, it's not about anything other than recognizing that people, like you said, and that's the beauty of being, I think, from the quote unquote hood.
Yeah.
I can go from
anywhere.
Yeah. It's like, no, like, not saying that things don't scare me. Obviously things scare me. I'm a woman, right? But I'm saying that people are just people. The guy on the corner just hanging out, doing his own thing, like whatever. Same thing with the guy who's at the White House doing his own thing. What, you know, it's all the same. And there's you know, having these different experiences make us able to be a chameleon and adapt, right? And that is a gift that I feel, whereas other people can see that and look at you and not think that you're from Brooklyn at all. And look at you and say, "Oh, you're
until I open my mouth and start talking that Brooklyn."
Well, but like but I'm saying, just looking at you, oh, you're doing Angela Bassett's makeup, you're a celebrity makeup artist, you know, it's like she don't know nothing, you know what I mean? And it's like those things, it's like, oh, these are all perceptions that if you asked a question, I could tell you, right? So, you know, shout out to being from
the hood.
Look, from starting from the bottom. Now we're here.
Okay.
Now we're here.
Listen.
Yeah.
Shout out to that.
So yeah. All right. So I feel so you didn't have the confidence that, and the reason why I asked that question is because there are people probably listening to this podcast who are starting something, who are or just going out on faith or taking their step out on faith, or maybe they want to, but they're scared to because they're not where they need to be. And me being the perfectionist that I am, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm not ready yet. But when you just jump out and obviously you couldn't predict the future, but you're so good at what you do now. And even though when you did step out on faith, you weren't at the level or feeling as good as you are now, but you still did it. And it's okay to still do it. It's okay to, even though you're not ready, every T is not crossed and every I is not dotted. Like, it's okay to still go and try, because we have to grow. We have to grow, right? It's not like you wouldn't have been where you are now if you worked at all these places, continued to work, and then got to where your mindset is now, and just now be starting on your own, right?
Yeah, no.
So there's a level of growth. So I'm glad that you did take that step.
Yeah.
Okay, so we took a step out on faith. We weren't where we were supposed to be, but we did all of our things that we needed to do. So when in your life, in your professional career, did you feel stuck that, okay, this now isn't working? Or a part where you're like, this, you know, I have all these clients, I have this, I have that, but something just isn't right. Was there ever a moment that happened?
God, yeah. Let's go back to my wilderness season. When God told me to move to LA.
Yes.
And so that is a testimony of itself.
And when was that?
In 2020.
Okay.
So in 2020, I felt that tug to put...
Pre or post pandemic? During. Oh,
like,
okay.
We walked into the pandemic.
Okay.
The last hug that I got was from Angela Bassett.
Oh.
Yes. Oh. The last hug I got was from Miss Ange. And she went back to LA, and I headed home.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do everything that you told me to do, guy. I'm gonna do it all. I'm gonna start this. I'm gonna start my podcast. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go live every day and teach makeup, and I'm doing everything. And I was going live every single day. It was booming. It was like hundreds of people were coming on every day meeting with me, and I'm talking about God. And I was like, oh wait, something ain't right. I need to pull back. And I felt this pulling because I would look at the news and see about LA, and I would see like LA was so pretty. They had blue skies during the pandemic. They had lemon trees, orange trees, and then people will be hiking during the pandemic, and we are in apartments.
Can't go nowhere.
And so I was like, God, LA is looking real pretty, and I don't really like it. But if you want me, like, I feel like something's calling me to go there.
Yeah.
And I had got a prophecy to go to LA. And I was like, I'm not going to LA. I just been up. I'm like, I ain't going to LA. Like, that's not for me. So that prophecy came back to my spirit. And I was like, I think I have to go. And so I prayed and I said, God, if you want me to go to LA, I need a moving truck from New York to California. I need to know if my clients are going to book me, because I know I'm their person in New York, but they have a team in LA and I don't want to step on anyone's toes.
Right.
So tell me where I'm going to fit in and how am I going to do this? Because this is scary.
Yeah.
And I went for a walk and I bumped into a moving truck that said New York, California Express.
You're kidding.
Dead.
Whoa. I call those my God moments. That was a God moment.
That was.
Like, oh, you asked, here it is.
There you go. And a month later, that same truck was leaving with my stuff. Wow. I called my friend Essence Atkins and I said, Essence, I'm moving to LA. I just saw this moving truck. I told her the whole thing, the whole experience. And that whole month, things was just like boom, boom. Like it was just like moving at a place of like, it was moving with so much ease. Like I got rid of my apartment. My friend took over the lease, took over the apartment. They put her name on it, took my name off of it. Everything just flowed, even down to the apartment I had to choose my apartment in LA on the website, because we couldn't go in.
Oh, right.
During COVID.
Yes, so you couldn't see it.
And so I was just like, everything's is working out. Everything's great. Mm-hmm. And so finally I leave. And I'm walking in with this confidence, thinking like, maybe I'm going to walk out of this airport and meet my husband and we're going to just go off into the sunset and I'm going to come to LA and have this amazing testimony. No, I got my jaw rocked. Oh. I went through a wilderness. I moved out of my beautiful apartment that I was living in. My view in New York and Jersey was of the whole entire city. The Verrazano Bridge, massive balcony, beautiful. The sun rose in my apartment and set in my living room. It was beautiful. It was a stunning apartment that I was blessed with. And I walked into my apartment in LA and my view was now my neighbor's patio.
Oh boy.
And I was like, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. This is fine. We're going to make this place a home. And I turned it into a home, okay? Mm-hmm. But then slowly but surely that place became infested with flies. Roaches were coming out of the bathroom. I remember I was taking care of a friend's dog, and I remember falling asleep one day and this man at 3:00 in the morning tried to break into my apartment.
Where were you in LA?
In North Hollywood, because that's where God told me to go. Okay. I didn't even know North Hollywood was called the Valley.
The Valley.
And so I go to the Valley. Yeah. Walked right into the Valley. And
of the shadow of death.
Listen, okay? Because it was. And I didn't realize what I was walking into. And
boy.
The man tried to break in at 3:00 in the morning.
What?
And then I go to God and I'm like, listen, you moved me here, so you won't have to move me out. My credit went from a 750 to a 500 because at that time I could only pay my rent and for food. I didn't have money for like credit card bills or anything like that.
Because it was the pandemic and you weren't working.
And we weren't working.
Right. Okay.
And then on top of that, nobody really knew I was in LA.
Right.
So no call when things started to look a little bit of open up. No one was calling yet.
Right.
And so I, trusted my process. But still it was a lot. It caused a lot of trauma. And so I got a phone call that same day. The man tried to break in from a client and she told me, you're too successful, because she was giving me a job that would have put me in the union.
Oh, okay.
And so she said to me, you're too successful. I want to give this job to someone else. This young lady is new and I want to help her build some success. Took the job from me. That girl went on to win 2 Emmys for makeup. I'm not done. You want to know what it feels like? Okay. So then.
But. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
1 sec. Would you have taken that job?
The job was mine, actually. I signed the papers. She just made the switch at the last minute to go with the other young lady.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So you would have did the union thing and everything.
And I would have got my Emmys.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So going back to that, and this is a process of thinking that you're walking into something that you finally know, like, okay, this is it. This is my season. This is the time that God is actually about to blow my mind. We're in the world is we don't know where the world is going right now, but I'm going to trust this process. I'm in another state.
Right.
I'm gonna do this.
And you've never lived anywhere else before this?
I lived in North Carolina for like 3 months,
right.
so I could adapt to things like that. But this was different now because I didn't have someone with me.
Right.
I moved in with a boy at that time. This time I'm alone.
You're alone, and you're in LA,
and I'm in LA.
So different, yeah.
Yeah. So and I didn't know how to drive.
Oh boy.
So all this, yeah. So I got thrown.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So then within a week, I prayed and I said, God, you gotta fix this, baby boy. You gotta fix this, daddy. And so within a week, I was moved into a new apartment.
Good.
Moved into that apartment, started doing, feeling a little normal, still hurt about a lot of the things. I had Miss Ange would call me and be like, hey, I'm going to split the work between you and my other artist because he's working with me on set. And, I feel like you could use this money, not knowing what I was going through, but that's a God wink, right?
Yeah.
He would place you on someone's heart to help you, to help bring you to places, right?
Yeah.
But then there were also people that fell off. There were other clients that did fall off that I was actually depending on and hoping to work with and to open those doors for me. Mm-hmm. And then I went for a walk one day, got punched in my face by a homeless guy. And then that's when I said, okay, God.
Where?
In North Hollywood.
Oh, gosh. Okay. This is why people don't walk in LA.
Don't walk.
This is why people don't walk in LA.
And so that's when the Lord was like, didn't I tell you get your car? Learn how to drive. So that's when I took my, started to really process of like, okay, let me learn how to drive. Let me just adapt to this place. I feel like I'm struggling and I'm fighting it. Yes. And I remember going on a walk. Around, there was a park in that neighborhood that I lived in, and I would walk around the park and I'm like, God, I need to hear you. So I had my headphones in, listening to some like soft music, and I'm walking, and this man comes in front of me, and he's wearing a white shirt with khaki pants and a bucket hat, and he looked like he was like from like Hispanic. He looked Hispanic, right? Little chubby, cute guy. And he's like, Miss, and I have an attitude, and I'm like, bro, I'm trying to hear God right now. Like, why are you stopping me? And he's like, Miss. And there was this pomegranate tree growing in that particular park. And he was like, check the fruit. And I was like, yeah, the fruit. Okay, cool. Thanks. All right, the fruit. And he's like, check the fruit. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to check the fruit. And then I heard fruit of the spirit. And so I turn around and I say to the guy, I said, sir, I'm going to check the fruit. And he's like, yes, check the fruit. And I said, okay. And I turn around and he's gone. So I had an encounter with a whole angel. And when I went to look at the fruit at that time was the pomegranates were little, like they were small. They weren't as grown, like big yet. And I just received the revelation maybe this year about what that guy was sent to tell me.
Wait, this year?
From 2020, I just received the revelation. And the revelation was that God was walking me into a part of building my character.
That was the LA trip.
The LA trip was a wilderness season. That was a season of where I doubted everything and didn't understand why I had to go through this. But I had to go through those very things to build up the character in me. Am I loving on others as much as I'm loving on myself? Am I creating joy for myself as just as much as I create joy for others? Am I being kind to myself as much as I'm being kind to others? Am I showing God's goodness, his faithfulness? Am I being disciplined and taking better care of myself? Am I waking up to spend time in his word, spend time in his presence, but also being disciplined to take care of my body? Go work out, go for a hike, go for a walk, taking care of my mind, my body, and my spirit. These are the things that he wanted to actually develop and build in me, because this is attached to the beauty industry. Character. Because so often what I'm noticing now, and what I've noticed before, was that many women allow makeup to wear them. We don't allow ourselves to actually just put it on and we wear it. The makeup becomes the identity.
Right.
It's putting on a mask, and it's blocking and it's hiding something that you're trying to cover up. when it's like, let's actually go behind the mask and see what's going on in there. And so that's when the ugly work of Camara Helps started to happen. That's when I started to do that nasty, ugly, disgusting work where I had a mirror put in front of me and realized that I made Camara Aunique celebrity makeup artist my identity, and not Camara is a child of God, a beautiful woman of God that just loves people. She's a good friend.
Right.
She is someone that walks in the fruits of the Spirit, you know, like.
Right. And this is something that I do.
Yes.
This is not who I am.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I really, wow. Yeah. There's so many things.
Sorry, I keep talking too much.
No.
Okay,
No, this is great. So first, Big Jim. I think also just as women, we tie ourselves up into being a mom, into being a wife, into being, you know, whatever career you have, like this is me. And that is not who we are. It's what we do. It's how we love. It's who we love. It's, you know, all these, it's these transfers of energies and things like that. And obviously I'm not a mom or a wife, but yet, correct. But I have gotten to a place where I am so me and who I am that me depositing into my own bank is what lets me give to other people. And I really understand that now. And I really get that now. I can't run on empty. A car won't go if there's no gas in it, right? So I can't run on empty and really be the person, the light, the love that I really want to be to other people if I'm empty. So then, you know, what that looks like. But also going to LA when you're talking about your wilderness season, the other gem that I heard is like, you know, one could think listening to this story like, girl, that wasn't God telling you that with that truck, because that wouldn't have this and that wouldn't have that and blah, 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 right? Like that's just coincidence. But New York was your comfort zone. And that is something that I have also, you know, and I'm sure people who have listened to this, it's like, everything's all good when you're comfortable. We comfortable. We making money. We got this. We got that. We got our beautiful sunset, sunrise all in our apartment and everything. Oh, it's easy to smile and be real happy. But are we really going to smile and be happy when things are crashing down? Are we still going to praise and be like, God, I know it's just a moment. We got this. We going to go through this. Da, da, da. Or are we going to start condemning and being evil and being mean and being mad or being this and being that, and like our whole being is now sad because of the circumstance that we're in? And those tests happen. So, you know, who we are is not just who we are when we are comfortable. It's who we are when we're not comfortable.
Yes.
As well.
Yes, that really shows your heart.
Exactly. You know, even with certain men, it's like when they have money, they're so happy. But when they have no money, you're like, and my dad always told me that. He said, never date a man who just has money. Date a man who always knows how to get it. Because when they don't have it, they could be a different person. And I said, ooh.
That's good.
I said, ooh.
That's good.
That's a bar. That's a bar right there, Pops. You know, so you going through this in LA was like you said, it's the character.
Yeah.
And also when you said you just got the revelation now.
Because I was fighting it. Because I was literally I shared this in something else, that we have to be the pruning season, because a lot of us are going through a pruning season, a season of where God is literally, I asked God, okay, so one of the things that I said to the Lord when I first moved to LA was, God, clean out my closet. I didn't realize that I was asking God to flip my table. So cleaning out my closet was go into the closet, take out all the things that no longer fit.
Right.
Everything about me that no longer fits. Because one of the things in the Bible is that the scripture said is before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you.
Ooh.
And so when I got the revelation of that scripture, the scripture is, I knew you, right?
Right.
that means that we actually had a relationship. My spirit and your spirit had a relationship with each other. We walked with God. We got to know him. He has a book of life that he wrote things about us. And he basically shared everything that he had planned for us. For he said, for I know my plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Right? And so I asked God, show me who I was before you formed me in my mother's womb. Who is it? Who is the Camara that you called me to be?
Right.
And how do I embrace her? So now coming back to New York was me actually, and because New York became uncomfortable for me because LA became comfortable now.
Right.
And so coming back to New York where I was like, ugh, this is a lot. I went through hell for another year and a half. And when I finally yielded and surrendered to my pruning season and surrendered to the character and actually looked back at myself and said, wow, he really did a beautiful work in me. Like, not only am I beautiful in when you see me, but the inner me is actually really pretty and beautiful too. And it's nice. And I'm actually able to have compassion for people in a way that I probably would not have had before, or patience, you know? And so I, that season, though he slayed me, because I got slayed. After I look back at it, I'm like, man, it developed the woman that I am today.
Yes.
And that woman that I am she's amazing. And I could say that in a way that's not cocky, but in a way that's confident in who I am.
Yes. Because only you and God know what you went through.
Yeah.
And those talkings and those moments that you had. And yes, and I say that all the time too. It's like, yeah, women, call it cocky, call it whatever you want to call it. When you've been through stuff, you do need to claim it and be like, oh, I am
an overcomer.
I am amazing.
I'm resilient.
Yes. And I did it. Yes. I did it. I got through that. Yeah. And that was hard to get through. Yeah. And now we're here and now we're happy.
And now I have the tools.
Yes.
To actually, when I do, because, we go from glory to glory. But the parts of the glory is hidden valleys. And so now when I'm in a valley again, I have the tools of like, okay, make sure I'm meditating. Make sure and I meditate on my word. Like I make sure I'm like, and I'm speaking affirmations from the word, just speaking things into my spirit and just being, encouraging myself, and getting excited about myself. There's a thing I had to get out of too, where I believe for others more than I believe for myself. Yep. That's not happening no more. Now I believe for me as what God is doing for you. I'm under the umbrella. Right. Hey, I receive it.
Yes.
I get excited for people in a way that I'm like, not jealous anymore. I used to be jealous. Like, man, you look what you're doing for her. What is the difference?
Right.
No, now it's like, I'm excited at what you're doing for her. Look at what you did for Natasha. Look at this amazing production. Amen. This is amazing. Yeah. It's wonderful. And just being able to shift my perspective to not seeing it as what someone has is reminding me of what I lack.
Right.
No more of that.
And also it's like, and you're not even paying attention to the people who are not at the place that you are now, who are where you were and jealous of you. Do you know what I mean? Because of what they see from you. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it's it's an ongoing circle and things and being honest with yourself. And that is the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing that I think we need to do, is be honest with ourselves about those beautiful, shiny moments, but also those shadowy moments that we have. And who are, and what our shadows look like, and why we need to also embrace them as well in order to grow them as well. Yeah. So so you talk about tools. So what tools are in your wellness toolbox now?
Definitely being in my word. I love my church. I won't share where I go. But I go to a very small but mighty, amazing church. I have amazing pastors. I have an amazing spiritual parents. My mentor, Prophetess Asha, who I adore, my mentor, Miss Eleanor. I have this amazing woman named Alice Ludwig, who is a genius. So I just have some really great, beautiful women of God that are surrounding me and praying for me. And I needed that community. I have friends that I'm being intentional with. That's in my toolbox. Spending time, like when you spend time with me for my birthday, that is part of my toolbox. Having people like you in my life. I love you.
I love you too.
And I want to share, like, you're one of my favorite people. I'm so happy we reconnected.
In LA.
Yeah, we did.
In LA.
And when somebody was being mean to me. Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. We met at an event. I remember.
But but you know, I even signed up to Rover to be a dog walker, and I get paid like $30 a day for this, right? Yeah. But that's part of my toolbox because I love dogs, and I get to walk dogs for like, you know, a couple of dollars, and it's not paying me much because it's like, oh, this is gas. Not even, because my car is premium, but whatever. And I have this little cute dog that I see all the time named Addie, and she's you know, and then my clients, just embracing them and seeing and being the toolbox is all of those things. Going for long drives. Now that I'm a driver in New York, I'm able to actually like pick up and move with grace. And like I go to Cape May. I went to Cape May for a couple of days and by myself, and that was amazing. Go to like Hudson Valley and check out something out there. I went to Annapolis, Maryland, and stayed there for a couple of days. My friend got married, but I also like made sure I was intentional to stay there for a few days and go to DC and stayed in Philly and, you know, just doing things that I would be afraid to do alone. And exploring. But exploring by myself. And I learned. And
driving is therapeutic.
It is. Yeah. But not in New York, though. But
well, when you're going on a road trip.
On a road trip, it's nice.
Yes.
And even like, and even also, another thing that I like to do is I like to look up different things to do in town. So like in Jersey, I live in Jersey City, but like in Jersey, they have a farm where you could go pick flowers. And so I will drive out and go do that. And then they have a, like classes. I took a candle class on Valentine's Day. I was by myself, but, you know, I took a candle class, and the people that were there were couples. They had to write love letters to themselves, and they put it at the bottom of the candle. And for me, I got to write a love letter to myself. Also,
it's a great idea.
Yeah. And also, another good thing was I am a prophetic writer. So I hear God. And the way I hear the Lord is I hear him and I just write what I feel God is saying to me. And so I write love letters from the Lord. And so I wrote a book. You know, I got a book called Love Letters to My Daughters. And it's a 52-week devotional. And it was just love letters that God wrote me during that time. So even my devotional helps me too. That's in my toolbox. Yes. And even some people have text messaged me and I'm like, whoa, I start to cry because I'm like, they don't even understand the things I had to go through to get those love letters
and get these lessons
to share it actually and put them out. And so those are the things. Exercise, Pilates. Yes. Yeah. I'm a Pilates girl. Pilates is in my toolbox. My auntie Mary, she's in my toolbox. Oh my God. Obsessed with her. Even when she goes on her vacations with her husband, I'm like, how long you gonna be? Because they go on these 2-week like. I'm like, girl, listen, like you on another cruise, sis. Like, I need you to stay home, sis. But she's in my toolbox. My granny is in my toolbox. And just. Do
you go to therapy?
Oh, therapy is in my tool. Yeah, my therapist, Damali, she's in my toolbox. Yeah. I need to actually, because I went to the spa yesterday and I was like, I spent like $500 on this spa, and this is like 3 sessions of therapy. Yep.
The math be mathing.
But yes, therapy is definitely in my toolbox because therapy has helped me really shift my perspective in seeing things in a more loving way. Yeah. And also how I saw God, because I think we tend to blame God for a lot of things that we go through when he is not. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, right? And every day. And so he's
like, you mad at me today? It's
he doesn't get mad at us.
Exactly. Yeah. But we feel like that sometimes. Like
what? Because what people have taught us, right? And he's just such a loving father. And so I think that therapy has helped me to see him as a loving dad, and has helped me to see that it wasn't him that caused the heartache and the different things that I went through, but he's using those things to get me to a place of glory and happiness and joy.
Right. And I said that in another podcast. It's like, God doesn't prevent things from happening to us because we have free will, and we're dealing with all different types of people every day. People who walk with him, people who don't, people who, it's just free will running rapid around the world. Absolutely. But he carries us through.
Yes.
The faith.
And all things work together for our good.
Yep.
Every single thing.
Yep. Okay. So tell me about your brand, Camara Aunique Beauty.
Hey.
When did we decide to start this?
5 years ago. So 5 years ago, I called a friend and I was like, I've been made fun of for my eyeballs since I was a kid, and I would like to come out with a lash line. And she was like, okay.
I did not know that.
I was made fun of for the way I looked.
Wow.
And so I always knew that I wanted to, and I also wanted to create a product where I did not have to, like, where I could build some type of success in a way where I don't have to physically touch a person to do makeup anymore. So I felt that calling was coming.
Yep.
And I wanted to put my name on something. And so it's a lash line. And at first it was named after my clients, named after like June Ambrose and Ava DuVernay and Lisa Price from Carol's Daughter, and a few amazing, wonderful people. And then after that, when 2020 happened, and I put both feet in, I started to learn about the women in the Bible.
Yes.
And how dope and amazing their stories is and how relatable their stories are. And it inspired me. And so I rebranded and basically founded a brand that's now faith-based. And so everything is named after a woman in the Bible. And so it's just teaching women to hear these stories and to see their stories, but to see it in a way where they could say, even if you're a believer, if you're not, but you could see these stories and say like, wow, Deborah was actually an influencer. Like, people actually went to Deborah and was like, girl, let me get this tea. Like, what is God saying for me? And because people went to her because they trusted God in her. Right. They trusted that she was led by him. And then Esther stood in the gap for people that felt like, Esther, she stood in the gap for a Jewish community, for the Jews basically, but she stood in the gap for them in a way where there was someone that was going after to kill them and to hurt them and harm them. And she was like, not on my watch. Yeah. I'm the queen now. I'm going to fast for 3 days and watch what I do. And basically went to the king, which could have got her impaled and killed, even though she was his queen. She went to him and shared, listen, I'm a Jew. And he didn't know he married a Jewish woman, right? And when she shared that with him and shared what this man that's been trying to hurt people was doing, Haman, the king took her side and impaled the person that was coming after the very same people, and so it shows us that we can actually stand in the gap for those people. We could stand in the gap for the people that are going through hard times right now, that though they may not believe the way that we believe, or though they may not believe, be in the same place that we are, but we have to have compassion and actually pray for them so that they can actually be led by God into their victory, into a place of peace. And so their stories are stories of victory. Their stories are stories that are fun and dope. My number one lash is the Mary lash. That one, Mary sat at God's feet, and she was a disciple, like before, wasn't quote unquote a disciple, but because she wasn't labeled as one, but she followed him.
Yes.
She followed him. And so there's so many different amazing and wonderful stories that we could look at them for the victory that they've carried and how they've carried themselves and how they overcame things. And we could take those tools and apply it to our own lives.
And Ruth.
Oh, that's my girl. But let me tell you about Ruth, though, because a lot of people think about Ruth and they're like, oh, Boaz. Yes. But the only reason why Ruth got to Boaz was because of her kindness.
Yep.
Ruth was kind to Naomi, and Naomi was her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law. But Naomi was such a beautiful. This is why I always say to like women that are older, and especially even us as we're getting older, that we need to be the Naomis to those roots, because our love, like, and who we are can actually lead somebody to become their best self.
Yep.
We can actually lead someone to get to their Boaz, to their victory. And it doesn't have to be a husband, but it could be purpose.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Insert.
Yeah.
What you're going after.
Yeah. And then because Naomi was who she was, Ruth was like, nah, I'm gonna follow you, because whatever they got going on here, I'm good. And so that's how Naomi then led her to basically sit at Boaz's feet. Not going to bed with him now, okay? But sit at his feet.
Yeah.
And he recognized her.
Yeah.
But he recognized her in the field too, and was like, who's that? She's different. You know? And I think she has a servant's heart.
Yep.
And I think that's how we get recognized by people that are called to be our helpmates and helpmeets, is when they see the servant in us and they see that there's something different in us compared to what other people, because a lot of people are for self.
You know, you talked about service. There's also a layer of surrender.
Oh, yes.
That she embodies. Yes. And that layer of surrender is femininity in its purest form. She is such a great example of femininity. And so when I was on my femininity journey, there was all these things that I was collecting and reading and doing and blah, blah, blah for myself. And the Book of Ruth and Song of Solomon were two things that I literally I've probably listened to the Song of Solomon over 500 times. Like, you know, going to sleep and like meditating on it and stuff like that. Over 500 times. So, but these are all things that, like I said, she embodies femininity to me.
She does.
And listening to her and the way that she, you know, went through her journey, I was like, oh, that's where we at with it. We surrendering, we're serving, and we're, and, you know, metaphorically laying at the feet.
Yes.
So this is how you created your Camara Aunique Beauty line. And you were still doing faces. You were still, you still, you know, being a makeup artist, but also you had your own line. And what have you learned with having your own line now?
Sure. I mean, I learned you got to keep doing the work. You got to keep believing in it.
Yep.
I think that when I went through my wilderness season, I did give up on it a lot. I did. I'm not gonna lie. And God was so faithful, because I did like a whole thing with BoxyCharm where they put me in their boxes for like about 500, I think 300,000 boxes. It got sent out. So there's orders always coming in from people, because there's people that fell in love with it.
Yep.
Were subscribers for Ipsy.
Yep.
And Boxy. So shout outs to y'all. Thank you. But I learned that you have to, community is great. Partnering with people, asking for help, though I've asked many for help, but just learning, it's been a very tough learning experience. I think that I thought in my head that because of where I was as a status as an artist, that it would be easy.
Yeah.
It's not, because you have to turn off the creative mind and put the business mind on, but still have some of the creative in there.
You're doing it all, yeah.
So it's like doing everything.
Yeah.
So it becomes overwhelming. But I've learned to just enjoy the fact of like putting it on my clients, seeing their faces with it, doing videos and teaching how to apply, how to use the product, making mistakes, switching out things, testing out the prices, going up and down with prices, keeping it at a certain level. Now, you know, planning a new thing, thing that I'm working on now.
Keeping it going.
And not giving up on it. Like, don't give up on the dream. You know, and I don't think it was actually a dream of mine, I'm gonna be honest, but it was something that I felt like I was led to do.
It's a natural progression.
Get to the dream. Yeah.
Natural progression, I think. It's like you're a makeup artist, you should have your own products.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And they're great. And they are great. Which product sells the most? Like, it's like
Mary. The Mary Lash is always sold out.
Okay, there it is. All right.
Yeah.
And you guys can find, if you guys want to get those lashes, you can go to her Instagram, Camara Aunique Beauty.
Yes,
right?
It's Camara Aunique Beauty and Camara Aunique, yeah.
Yep, to look at those, to get those. Okay, so now we're coming towards the end of this podcast, but since we have you, I have to ask these questions about makeup.
Yes.
So, we are makeup girlies.
Yes.
Can you explain the importance of the right brushes? Number one. Number two, when we should use brushes versus beauty blenders.
So,
in your professional opinion.
So here's the thing. I could do a whole face with a blender.
Okay.
I like using a blender.
Okay.
I can do a whole face with a blender.
You hear that, ladies? We need the blenders.
But make sure
okay,
you use it wet.
Okay.
So you want to wet it and let it spread and let it like expand. And then you want to squeeze out all the water so that it's damp. That allows it to apply powder really beautifully. That allows it to apply foundation really beautifully. Like a nice...
So I don't wet mine.
Yeah, because you gotta wet it.
I gotta wet it.
You gotta wet it and let it expand. It's a sponge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, and it should just be like lightly damp, because I know that when you do my face, it's always a little lightly damp. Okay. All right. Do we use different beauty blenders, or do we use this? Can we just use the same one for the whole face for the light concealer?
So here's what I do. So because you know how the blender is like a triangle in a way, right? So one side I use for liquids and creams.
Okay.
One side I use for powder.
Okay.
And then I keep the bottom part plain with nothing on it, so that if I made any mistakes, it could erase.
Oh, it's an eraser. Ooh, that's a gem. Okay, now I know. But
I do love brushes.
Okay, but blenders are key.
Yes.
It sounds like blenders are the key.
It is.
Okay, so tell me about the brushes. Tell me about our my life changed when I got better brushes as far as doing my makeup. I will say that.
I wish I bought them. I have brushes that are coming out soon.
You do? Oh my God, that's amazing.
They're actually really good.
Oh, amazing.
They're actually fantastic, by the way, and they look beautiful.
Okay, like, when do we get those? We don't know yet.
December. But it may be before.
Okay.
It may be before. Okay. I'm getting I'll get them and I could probably start selling them soon.
Okay, holiday brushes. Done.
They're sick.
Okay, so.
But brushes I like a nice kind of like a stick, like not the kabuki, like the short one, but one that's like a little bit longer where I could really use the wand.
Okay.
And move it the way I want to move it. But I like a good stiff hair, like the way that the hairs are. I like the hairs to be compact and stiff in a way, so that when I'm applying contour, it applies it it blends it well. So I trademark blend is your friend.
Blend is your friend.
Because a lot of the things about makeup, the more that you're doing it, you realize that I'm constantly blending.
Yes, blend is your friend.
You're not setting it too much. You're constantly blending.
Yes.
So I trademarked that. So I own Blend is your friend.
I hope that's the name of the brush line, because blend is your friend.
It should have been. I should have named it that. No, it's going to be called The Virtuous Woman.
The Virtuous Woman. The tagline is Blend is your friend.
Yes, you're right.
That's the tagline. I love it. I love that. You know when the girlies have concealer on under their eyes, and then they take the picture, and it's like so much lighter than the rest of their face. Yeah. And in person, it doesn't necessarily look like that. But then when they take the picture, it's like. And you do celebrity makeup. You have people on carpets that are taking pictures. They always look so amazing, and you don't get that line obviously because you're professional. How can the girlies at home who don't know what the hell they're doing, like me sometimes, not do that?
Okay.
So, what's the trick?
So the trick is definitely using the wet beauty blender.
Okay.
I'm gonna give this is a really good. I charge people for this one, but I'm gonna give it to y'all. I'm
this
gonna give
y'all
this uncut jam.
Yeah.
Uncut jam. Okay. So. So what I do is I use the blender, but I apply it from the outside and working my way in. You want to pick 2 shades. Now, if you're a black woman, you want to use 1 to 2 shades lighter than your complexion.
Okay.
If you're a white girl, 1 to 2 shades lighter than your complexion, right?
Okay.
Hispanic, 1 to 2 shades lighter, right?
Okay.
You can also mix the 2 shades.
Okay.
To get the perfect, to get a shade that's like...
In the middle.
In the middle.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
starting from the outer corner of the eyes and working your way in
near the nose.
Yes.
The
reason why we do that is because your face.
You're
getting the.
I'm
you're
working.
taking it in.
Yeah, I'm taking it in.
The reason why is because our lines underneath our eyes start from the outer corners in. So normally when you see things look cakey and you want it to be more smooth, you want to. So when I see somebody applying concealer and they're going like this,
always,
and teaching, I'm like, please stop, because you're doing it
wrong.
wrong.
I'm always this way. Every day of my life. Now my life has changed because we're going the other way. Okay.
Now, when it comes to setting powders.
Okay.
So what I believe is when somebody sees that harsh white is because they're probably picking like a very translucent white powder.
Okay.
You want to use something that has like a little bit of a color in there.
So
if you notice when I do I use pink. I use a soft, pretty pink, a rose pink. Rose petal actually is what I use.
Okay.
Huda has one that's really bomb. I love Huda.
Okay.
She has a very nice, I'm actually wearing it today. I was practicing with it. I was like, let me test this out. It's actually really nice. So Huda has one. It's called Cherry Blossom, and it smells like cherry blossoms too. So she's just Huda.
Yeah.
She's just Huda. She's lit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Huda has a really beautiful pink under eye. But then also if you're Hispanic, you can do something like a yellow.
Okay.
Right? And if you're obviously a Caucasian girl, then you want to do something that like you could do the translucent and the white powders because it won't back off. Like but it also, that bounce back comes from wearing a little bit too much sunscreen.
Okay.
So wearing sunscreen, of course, because we do want to protect the skin.
Yes.
But you want to probably do a spray sunscreen rather than a moisturizer sunscreen.
Okay.
So I would carry a spray sunscreen with me for the day. And then if you're going into the night, then you don't need to wear it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because sunscreen, it's a reflector.
Right.
It reflects the makeup. So when you take the picture, what happens is it bounces back.
So we do the spray sunscreen before or after the makeup?
I would do it after. If you're going out in the daytime, I would do it after.
Okay.
So I will use products that don't have sunscreen in it, and then spray a sunscreen on top of my face.
Okay. That's a gem.
It is.
That's okay. I've learned a lot today.
Amen.
I've learned a lot today. And I want to thank you so much for coming on.
I am honored.
And sharing your story. And I think the biggest takeaway from today is just like, when you're in something and when you're in a season, no matter if it's a up season, down season, side, there is a purpose behind it.
There is.
And having and being connected to what you do in a service way can only grow you. Right? So
can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. The things that we grow through is not to hurt us and harm us, but it's for those the people that we're called to. So everything that we are experiencing and we're growing through is so that we can share our story and share our testimony with another person so that they can now come out of where they are. And so I think if we look at it like this, like I'm only going through this because I'm going to meet somebody that's going to need to hear this.
That I can help. And that's why we're here, y'all, for Hidden Gems.
Come on.
That's why we're here to help people get through these things, because we done been through it, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for coming and listening. And if you love this episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And I will see you guys next week. I thank you so much, Camara.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to Hidden Gems with me, your host, Natasha Parker. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really helps grow our budding community. Follow me on IG at Natasha Parker and the show at Gems with Natasha. Hidden Gems with Natasha Parker is produced by Gotham Production Studios.